But in the meantime, the founder of Save South Africa, Sipho Pityana, joins us now via Zoom to talk to us a little bit about developments that have been taking place. Mr. Pityana, always good to talk to you. Thanks so much indeed for joining us.
Good evening, Peter, to you and viewers. Thank you very much.
So, the last time you were standing on a podium with a speaker in your hand, and you were telling people that the president then had to go. Are we in the same set of waters, or are circumstances different?
Very different set of circumstances, Peter, and I would tell you that if they were the same, you would see me similarly engaged in calls for the president to go. Here is the difference. No less a body than the Constitutional Court had deemed the president as having breached his oath of office. There was a conclusive report of the public protector that made very damning findings against the president with regard to use of public funds to build his own property, etc., etc. So there was a conclusive set of investigations that had been undertaken, and Parliament was prevaricating and not taking its role in terms of the Constitution. So as the people, we had to rise to make our voices heard so that our public representatives understand that we have an expectation that they should hold the president to account. That's a very different set of circumstances to what is prevailing today.
So what is prevailing today is that there's no proof of any crime at this stage against the president. And until the processes play out, what we do is wait and see. Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, I think that in the first instance, it's important to make the point that these are very serious allegations against the president. They range from breaches of the Constitution to criminality, etc., etc. So all of us should be concerned about that. Fortunately, we have established institutions that we should have been called upon to test the veracity of these allegations, and we should be guided and aided by the outcome of those. Something in me tells me that the establishment of the panel was possibly premature, because I believe that the panel would have benefited from the investigative reports of the South African Reserve Bank, the South African Revenue Services, the Hawks, and Public Protector, and a range of other institutions. So they would have had the benefit of all of those and pronounce in terms of whether these were impeachable allegations, with the investigators from those institutions having done their work. So there wouldn't be maybe, et cetera, which is speculative. There would be a clear direction that is given.
So how does one respond to people who say, but these institutions were dragging their feet?
Well, you know, these investigative processes in their very nature tend to be a lot more protracted than we sometimes would like them to be. In my perspective, I believe that having seen all the testimonies that have been presented to the Zondo Commission, it seems obvious to me that certain people should be charged, and some of them should be in jail already. But I accept the assertion and the argument by the National Prosecution Authority that better still to spend more time and have a strong, compelling case to present to our courts with a greater prospect of conviction of those that may have been involved than to do shoddy work where there is indeed a case that where these criminals could be convicted, get away with it because they've been shoddy work by these institutions. I would much rather we apply the principle of more haste and less speed.
There are some that would say, and you've been in business a long time, someone in a position of high trust, that sometimes just the hint of impropriety is enough for them to step down, just so that the people around them, the organization, the country in this case, isn't caught up in these kinds of conversations, and that you fall on your sword for the greater good, even if in the end, perhaps you could get away with things legally, that just the hint of impropriety is sometimes sufficient?
I fully subscribe to that view, but I think that would be naive to believe that that's a rule of thumb that we should apply indiscriminately and in an acontextual fashion. The reality of the matter is that we are in a space where there has been real contestation, and the outcome of the Zondo Commission has created a particular set of circumstances and has unnerved certain people. There clearly has been a lot of work done by the criminal justice institutions to challenge some of the impropriety that we've seen in the past. It is not inconceivable, and some people have argued, and I've been listening to the debates that have been ongoing, it is not inconceivable that some of these allegations are a political play or a fight back play. So clearly we should temper that with the context in which all of this is happening, and not come across as naive in our view with regard to that. So what saves us in that context is to place reliance on the institutions of our democratic constitution that we've established, that they would give us a basis to challenge this. Otherwise, we'd have people vulnerable to the flimsiest of accusations, and that they would be expected to fall or to move a step aside because they have there's been an allegation, albeit untested.
So what would you prefer to see happening now? Would you like Parliament to wait for the institutions, or can Parliament go ahead? What would you like to see in terms of the timing and the phases that we need to go through?
Well, I think that the President, true to a constitutionalist that he is, feels that the panel has acted in a way that is inappropriate. You and many other members of the public would take at face view the report and come to a conclusion that there may have been impropriety on the part of the President. That's a very serious and a very difficult position for the President to be placed in. And rightly, he has decided to take the matter up with the Constitutional Court. Now, if that plays out in the Constitutional Court and his prayers are granted, it would, in any event, set aside whatever the parliamentary processes you are going to be embarking on today. So clearly, Parliament is going to have to apply its mind to the fact that you have a President that has taken a view that the outcome of the panel's work was unlawful, and that Parliament may not place reliance on it. So the court will pronounce on that, and it would seem to me that you want to wait for the court to make that pronouncement before you rely on a report that may very well be the foundational basis of a challenge in the event that Parliament comes to any conclusion on this matter. In the meanwhile, though, it doesn't take away the cloud over the President, because these allegations are out there, and as you say, it would be better, and the country would be better served if the investigating authorities would be expeditious.
Mr. Pityana, thank you so much indeed for joining us and sharing your thoughts with us tonight. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's Sipho Pityana, who's the founder of Save South Africa, speaking to us about the developments that have been taking place in the last week or so now regarding President Cyril Ramaphosa, the Section 89 panel report.